Well, here we are back again for another half hour, and just a little potpourri for this half hour. It's a Monday morning, all sorts of things happening in Westminster, which we won't dwell on for a while. It's time, I think. Normally, we would see our two bees this morning, but they are both taken up with actually appearing in court this morning. So we haven't got them on hand. They will be back later in the week with some more chatter and some more chat. We saw Richard on, I think it was Friday, was it? One day last week anyway, talking about the courts, the family courts. And he went over two elements of those and left the third element for a future program. So we can expect that pretty soon. But so staying in touch with that, staying in line with the law and order. In the past, we have actually done a program called Catch 'em, which we may well, as we sort of get back to full strength, reintroduced, because it was popular and it kept up to date with what was happening inside the courthouse, inside the police station. So let's show you what it was all about.
Cash point fraud. It's moving south, so watch your cash carefully. It's a dog's life. If you own one, microchip it. It's now the law. And Lewis Prison, often home to the rich and famous.
A newspaper, please, Dawn.
Certainly, Keith. There we go.
Thank you very much. There you go. Hi, Seb.
Hello.
A pint, please.
No worries. Thank you.
Coffee, please, Kath.
Good morning. There you go, sir.
Thank you very much.
I'm very sorry, we don't take card.
It's hard to think now what you can't buy with a credit or debit card. But there are still nice little cafes, like this one, where cash is still king. Or, believe it or not, money is still needed to buy a bus ticket. And then, of course, they're still repaying the tenner you borrowed off a pal and forgot to give back.
Hi, David.
Thanks, David.
How are you? Yeah. Here's that tenner I owe you.
That's very
Oh,
good.
sorry about that. Hi, I'm Keith Hayes with the latest edition of Catch 'em, the crime show that deals with the bad people in Lewis.
It's possible to buy almost anything with a card nowadays, but we do need cash from time to time. And anyway, it's a comfortable feeling to have a fiver or two in your pocket. How do we get it? From cash machines, of course. And the villains know it. There has been a spate of tampering with cash machines in the north of England, and Sussex police are warning the public down here that it's spreading south. Police forces across the country have reported that a number of cash machines have been tampered with or modified so that criminals can get customers' bank details. Thieves tampered with ATMs in the north of England this week, and local police said it is advising the public to be vigilant and report anything suspicious. If it looks as if the machine has been tampered with, call the bank immediately and then call police on 101.
Better safe than sorry.
We're a nation of pet lovers. One man and his dog has been the mantra of the English for an age and a half. But as of this April, dog owners have a new legal responsibility other than walkies, dinner time and cuddles. All dogs throughout the UK must be microchipped. Owners who fail to comply face a fine of £500. Authorities estimate that there are still more than 1 million animals that haven't had a chip inserted. But the law applies to every dog and every owner.
It's now the law.
The chip is about the size of a grain of rice. It's inserted in the loose skin on the back of the neck. The chip contains a code which tells vets or dog catchers who the owners are and where they can be contacted. The scheme is designed to help reunite stray dogs with their families, identify reckless owners, and save local councils thousands of pounds looking after strays. So keep the lead, but get the microchip.
It's now the law. Hello, darling. I'll be late home for dinner. How very thoughtful of me to let the good lady know.
But if you do it while driving your car on your handheld mobile, it will be an expensive meal. If the police catch you, you'll get 3 penalty points on your licence, £100 fine. And if you have been particularly dangerous while driving, the fine could rise to £1,000 and being disqualified from driving.
It's dangerous and has cost lives.
Burglars continued their love affair with Haywards Heath this last week. A break-in took place in Chapman's Way. The thieves broke in through a rear door and stole some jewellery. The modus operandi was similar to burglaries which took place in Haywards Heath in mid-March. Intruders were disturbed in Sycamore Drive, Burgess Hill. 3 men in dark clothing were seen fleeing the scene before stealing anything valuable. Also in Burgess Hill, a man was assaulted in the early hours of the morning last week by a stranger. The victim's jaw was broken. Police are appealing for witnesses. Police are searching for a bold robber who threatened a Poundland store owner in Crowborough with a knife. The robber staged the hold-up in broad daylight, just before noon on Good Friday. There is also an appeal for witnesses to a 3-car crash on the A267 at Cross in Hand. 1 woman was seriously injured in the collision, while others sustained minor injuries. The cars involved were a blue Volkswagen Polo, a grey Seat Exeo, and a red BMW 320. If you witness the accident, call police on 101. Witnesses are also sought after a bus crashed with 2 cars on South Coast Road, Peacehaven, while a coach carrying 45 elderly passengers tipped into a ditch near Firle last Wednesday. No one was hurt. Standing on the outskirts of Lewes, the town's jail looks formidable. It was built in 1853, and over the years has played host to a number of famous names from the world of crime. The Russian prisoners from the Crimea War, who were held in the old naval prison, have become famous over time. There's a monument in St. John sub Castro churchyard to those inmates who died while in captivity. It's paid for by Russia. A play has been written about them, and only recently the Russian ambassador paid a visit to the site. Less well known is that 300 Finnish grenadiers, fighting for the Russians, were incarcerated in Lewes jail, not the naval prison. They were the new prison's first inmates. Several leaders of the Irish Easter Uprising in Dublin of 1916 were held there. They included Eamon de Valera, later the Republic's first president and Prime Minister. Probably the most famous murderer in the prison was John George Haigh. He was known as the acid bath murderer. That's the way he tried to dispose of his victims. He appeared at Lewes Assize Court in July 1949 and was found guilty in just 17 minutes. He was hanged by the then famous Albert Pierrepoint in August 1949. A notorious local murder in 1912 saw John Williams hanged in Lewes Prison. Williams shot a police inspector in Eastbourne, for which he paid the ultimate price. The notorious Cray twins, Ronnie and Reggie, were imprisoned in Lewes jail in the 60s. The colourful, so-called celebrity gangsters managed to keep business going as usual while behind bars, hiring out protection teams to Hollywood stars. Frank Sinatra hired 17 of them from the Crays. No prison worth its salt can exist without at least one ghost, and Lewes is no different. Local gossip has it that one of the corridors is haunted by a man in Victorian-style prison garb. He is said to have dropped dead of a seizure when he saw his son enter the same block as a fellow prisoner. So keep your eyes peeled as you pass the prison on the way out of Lewes on the road to Brighton. You never know what you might see. Two men have appeared at Lewes Crown Court charged with sexually abusing 13 teenage girls. Osman Karoma, aged 30, and Max Nyassa are alleged to have fed the girls with alcohol and drugs before having sex with them, and the Coast Guard has urged visitors to the south of the region to use common sense after photos were taken of a young girl in a wheelchair who was pushed to within inches of the cliff face at Burling Gap.
And that's Catch 'em for this week. See you next week for more news about crime around the district. Keith Hayes, South Downs TV. What's that, Ray? You want my phone number? Here, I'll write it down for you on this fiver. That way you won't forget it. Neither will I. It's illegal to write on a banknote. Here, Ray, give me my fiver back.
Well, it's amazing. Just how much is not out of date. Push the wrong button there. Amazing just how much is not out of date. And that's just a reminder, it's going back a couple of years, just a reminder that we do focus on the law in this television station, and that we have regularly, and they'll appear later in the week, the two Bs, the two barristers, Phil and Philip and Richard, Dick, and they're batting backwards and forwards with their peculiar and specific sense of humour, but also giving us some valuable insight into the workings behind what goes on in the law in this town, but then of course in this country, and for that matter in a good many other countries that which model themselves on the British legal system. So they'll be along, and we will start to busy ourselves in trying to bring back Catch 'em, a vital part of the daily life in Lewes. But of course, we say that we're local but not parochial. So we choose carefully those things which have a much wider remit than just the Lewes High Street. So that it takes a little bit longer to do than we normally do. Now, the other thing that is happening is in this part of the world is, in many ways, an industry that one time was considered to be just for those people who are interested in it, and that is the wine industry. We are seeing probably now for almost 2 centuries, brewing has been very key to Lewes. In the mid 1800s, we had 16 breweries, and we had 63 pubs. Now that is down to 16 pubs and 1 brewery, but several microbreweries that have sprung up. And that is improving the effect of the beer industry. We are seeing a distillery concentrating on gin. But the biggest expansion of the lot is the wine industry, where we've had over the years a number of good but small vineyards. Those vineyards are growing very rapidly. Big money is being put into some of them. And the French are busy buying up or protecting some of the land here, which is very suitable to the production of sparkling wine. It's in fact it's a vineyard here that provides sparkling wine to the palace for use for visiting dignitaries, and it is a pretty vital sector now. We had a chap who's a big entrepreneur, Fergus, who actually has gone off to join the Marines. But Fergus started an import and export business, which his father is running while he's away fighting for king and country. And he used to tee up with Annie Verrill to give us an outline of what we should be looking for in terms of wine, what we can import, but also what is fact and what is fiction when it comes to which wine you should drink with which food. So let's take a visit with them to catch up or be reminded of what we should know and what we shouldn't. So here we go. It's bottled poetry.
Hello and good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Here we are with the second episode, which is all about wine tasting for all the people out there who are wine connoisseurs or just want to know a little bit more about the wines themselves. So we have with us Mr. Fergus Wood, who will introduce himself and tell you all about his company. Hello, Fergus.
How you doing?
Please tell us more about yourself. I'm well, And once we get through all these wines, we'll be even better, probably. How are you?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. It'll be a great way. We're recording this at lunchtime, so hopefully it should get us into the afternoon quite nicely. Yes. And
Just
Thursday,
the right time for it.
Exactly. Thursday is the new Friday as well, so at least we're starting early. It's good.
Oh, I like that. That's great.
So yes, I'm Fergus Wood. I'm the founder of Camino del Vino, as you can see in the background. I'm a new startup. We're about to launch a new startup, online wine startup, where you can find us at www.caminodelvino.co.uk.
I think it's very clever of you to have started this company, because I myself, I don't know much about wine. I know there are 3 different colors.
Yeah. There's 3 main colours, but there's orange wines as well. But we'll go with that.
There we go.
Let's keep it simple to start with.
Shall we leave that for later?
Yeah.
Let's have red and white later on for now. Okay, great. So last time you were about to start talking about this beauty here.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Go with a pearl earring, yes.
Which is a Merlot.
Correct.
Lovely. Here it is. And it's Chilean, is it?
It is Chilean, yes, correct, yeah.
Great.
So it went by a different name, the portrait, or the painting, sorry.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is, or don't really know.
That's fine.
But
Yeah.
it's now just known as the girl with the pearl earring because it is so iconic and so distinct.
Indeed.
But this particular Merlot is also great for the region. It just thrives in the Central Valley, and the Central Valley it's sort of wedged in between the Andes on the east coast, and then it's got small sort of low-lying mountains on the west side. So it really tucks in below there. And Chilean climate is very Mediterranean. It's very warm and sunny. But then it gets that through the day. But then when the cool climate from the top of the Andes comes down, when it comes into the night, it starts to cool all the vineyards down. So it helps mellow out sort of the growing conditions, basically. So it doesn't go ahead of itself, really. It doesn't wear itself out through the growing season. So it sort of cools itself down. It doesn't need to start photosynthesizing, and it basically ends up with a lovely, elegant wine at the end of the day, and which we hopefully crack onto now.
I love the way you told that story. You should be a teacher. It's like a nice piece of geography and a little bit of history, and the story behind it. Well done. Can I open the bottle now?
Yeah, should we do it? Yeah. Let's see, why not? I left mine annoyingly in a storeroom outside, so it's a little bit cool, but I think yours should be at a good temperature.
Yes.
Because you don't want it. Red wines, particularly, you want them to be like 16 to 18 degrees, sort of like if you have them at room temperature, you should be fine. But mine's a little bit chilled at the moment, but you should just be fine. You should still get the same flavors, which is good. So.
Okay. Right. Let's open that up. Now, before anyone judges out there, this is what we decided on having the red in, right? Mm-hmm. Because I'm not a very big wine connoisseur, I just grabbed whatever glass I had at home. I just wanted to make sure it's not a pint glass.
No. So it's very good. So if you hold it up to the camera, you can see that in a bulb shape.
Yeah.
Like that. Mm-hmm. That's very good for wines in general, because it helps collect all the aromas and flavors rather than let them go. So when you do swirl it around, and when we go and sniff the wine, you can actually smell all the flavors that are in there. And so it just helps those sort of pinched in walls help the flavors and aromas bounce off and keep inside. So, and where you want to fill it is just below the sort of the widest part of the bulb. About there. Just fill it out,
just below the widest part.
Yeah, you want to fill it at this widest part. You just want to fill it slightly below, especially for tasting, because I'd say that you don't want to. Later on after the recording, you can fill it right back up.
No.
Just for tasting, you want to let all the aromas just tuck in. Whereas if you filled it a little bit higher, they may just sort of go out.
Also, let me just ask about the top. Now, of course, many people believe that if it's not a corkscrew, then it's no good. if it's just a screw on. What's the truth behind this?
So cork, there is a slight bit of truth in that. Yeah, a lot of one of my friends as well. He's very, especially for like these sort of wines, South American wines that do have a corkscrew. He just doesn't. He doesn't believe that good red wines should not be in a corkscrew. It's they should have a cork in it basically. Just because it's like, what the cork does essentially, it just imparts a different level of flavour onto the wine that maybe the winemaker wants to do. But it's just, again, it could be a cost factor, or it depends very much depending on what the winemaker wants to do. But I guess it is sort of genuinely true that a lot of the cheaper wines do have screw caps, because it does cost a little bit more to put corks in, redesign the bottle and all that sort of stuff. But there are still very good examples of wines which have corks, twisty caps, screw caps on the top. And so, again, it's just like, it's one of those really. You can just take it as you will. Hopefully you'll like this one, and so, which is a good example of it being a good wine and needing a screw cap. But yeah, it's just, it imparts a different flavour onto the wine, basically.
Good. Well, thank you. You demystified that.
You're testing me today.
I told you I'm a novice, so whatever pops in my mind, I shall ask. I don't know if it's silly or not.
I like it.
Very good. So now to the important part.
Is
that okay?
Yeah, that's good. That's perfect. Yeah, that's great.
Lovely.
So yeah, what you
swirl.
You just want to give it a quick swirl. And you should be able to, if you just gently put your nose over it. I can sort of, you can smell it already. You should be able to smell like fruit flavors already.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, so they're quite typically, especially for this Merlot, they're typically red fruit flavors, so such as strawberries.
I was going to ask, is there strawberry in there somewhere?
Exactly, yeah. So that's very typical of a good Merlot, and sort of representing what the grape can offer, basically. And so yeah, give it a big swirl, and then if you want to dig deeper, put your nose in it, and you can try and pick up, especially if you do go a little bit deeper, some sort of floral notes as well that maybe the wine should have as well, that could be present in this. If you can smell it, I can definitely.
Oh dear. No.
What are you going?
Floral. What type?
If not, no worries. If your nose may not be particularly as attuned as mine, but it's something you may get to develop on later on.
All right.
Yeah. You may as well be able to pick up maybe a slight bit of bell pepper sort of flavored, like green pepper.
Herbaceous.
Yeah, herbaceous. Yeah.
Interesting. You see, I would never have associated green bell pepper with wine.
There we go. Yeah.
It's healthy. It's full of fruit and vegetables. We need more of this.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. And then
very good.
So we passed the first test. We've done the smelling. So these sort of flavors as well that you can pick up in the aromas essentially of the wine. You should be able to taste as well when we start to sip the wine as well. So they should be whatever you pick up in your nose should be fairly representative of what you pick up on the mouth as well. But sometimes you may be able to find a couple more flavors that are, for instance, you could not smell on the nose that you could then pick on the tongue.
Right.
That's it's dependent on the wine basically, and it's very it's just whatever. Taste is very personal after all. So what you can taste and what you can't taste is entirely up to the person doing it basically. So yeah, we should wait and see.
So turn out I am very rubbish at this, but let's give it a go.
What you want to try and do is when you sip it, you want to try and let the mouth the wine sort of cover the inside of your mouth. So try and swish it around as if you're using mouthwash essentially. So you can get a real, especially for red wines, because they contain tannins. You get this sort of general feel and sort of slight covering, but it's a really pleasant covering of your mouth, and it's a slight drying texture to it as well. which is very representative of red wines. And that's what a lot of people do sort of like, is that sort of slight drying sensation, which helps sort of, it's just nice, really. I don't really know how to explain.
You can tell a very good story. Right. Let's see. That's very nice.
Good.
Don't ask me about fruit. I already told you the most important.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll just that's what I'm saying. As soon as if you pick it up in the nose, just write it down whenever you're tasting. If you're doing a tasting thing, the same again. I've got the exact same one. But yeah, can you sort of feel on your tongue a slight dryness? Yeah, that's what tannins are basically. There's slight dryness, and this particular Merlot as well, given the region that it grows in and the climate, they're quite like medium. They're not too in your face. That some wines we may explore later down in the line. They're not too like really boom, but they're not too sort of soft. It's a nice middle ground. It's a nice like midweek wine, I'd say. You just get on with it.
It's very easy to drink.
It's a good conversation wine, though, isn't it?
Yes.
Talking about the label, and then you have a sip, and then you're like, they matched it beautifully, I think.
Very good. So, would you say that different red wines contain more or less tannin, or is the amount of tannin the same? It's not, is it?
Well, in red wine making, for instance, the tannins particularly come from the skins, and maybe sometimes the stems especially in the classic vineyards that they use. They sometimes put the stems in with the fermentation process, but the skins contain most of the tannins, and this is what is distinguished between red wine making and white wine making, is that red wine fermentation process contains all the skins in it with the wines, with the grapes, so all the grapes, whereas in the other one, they crush and then press the white wine, so that it's just the juices that are fermented.
So there's no skin?
So there's no skin at all, yeah. So that's why tannins, you will never feel tannins in white wine.
White wine.
Yeah, it's only applicable to red wine. Yeah.
I like this.
Yes.
Yes, I don't think I like the red wines that contain too much tannin, because when I taste that dryness a bit too much, I can never explain it. It seems, I don't know what's the word for it. What's the best word? Is it too dry then, or too something? But I can never explain. But
it's just,
Go ahead.
I mean, it's quite intense, isn't it? Especially when you do get a big bombshell in your face, in your mouth, of a big tannin grape. It's not for everybody's liking, definitely. But I think definitely this one is a lovely sort of evening. Pop it on
by the fire
party. Now they're in, maybe outside of lockdown periods with other people, friends and stuff like that. You can have a couple of bottles of these on a Friday or Saturday night and let everything go. Yeah.
Even for an everyday wine with some food, or in the evenings, I would definitely recommend. It's very, very nice.
Nice.
Cool. Right, just a little bit more and then I'll put it away. Very nice. I feel like I want to eat it.
Good. And you feel as well, I noticed on my last gulp as well, like my tongue being sort of quite fresh in itself. There's like a minty flavour. That's quite indicative as well of the sort of region and Merlot. It's quite like a lovely little, just fresh, minty eucalyptus sort of feel as well, which again would be the herbaceous sort of side coming into it as well.
The green peppers, right?
The green peppers, the same sort of category, yeah.
Right, so, girl with the pearl earring, I agree. It's very, very good. Very tasty. Thank you very much. I hope one day you will return with another arty wine.
I do. I have another one. I have a Sauvignon Blanc, which we could do, also from Chile as well. So this would be a great opportunity to go, okay, we've done the reds, now we can move on to the white side of Chile. And especially Sauvignon Blanc, one of Chile's best white wine, great variety that it produces as well. So.
Thank you very much, Fergus. This was very, very nice. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. I shall try it later again, just in case. See if I can recognize the bell peppers later on.
Exactly.
Right. Thank you very much. We shall be back next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you to the viewers, and thank you to lovely Mr. Wood.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Well, if you didn't know about wine before, I hope that little romp with Fergus and Annie helps. And we have several more of these programs, which we'll play over the next few weeks to help you if you're not familiar with wines, and to perhaps confirm some of the things that you thought, or even so that you can challenge some of the things that are floating around in terms of vino and vino veritas. I have to say that I am, much as I am a wine drinker, I am no expert, and watching those programs is a big help to me. And I only just reminded that in fact things such as bell pepper can be used in the fermentation process of wines, particularly blended wines. And when you're sniffing in the restaurant, you're sniffing for various tastes, sometimes raspberries, sometimes strawberries, sometimes bell peppers, sometimes cucumbers. It just depends on what the vineyard mixes with its wines. Now, hopefully, we'll have Suzanne Mouchot from New York on in a little while. But just to take it, well, no, I'll tell you what. I think that because before I start to rabbit on, I think it might be an idea to do the odd. Let's let's do a little promo, shall we? I think we should. Here's the Mirador team, just in case you weren't familiar with us. Well, there you are. That's who we are right now, and a fairly solid group of people bringing Mirador to you, and I'm happy to say that you seem to be responding because the figures sometimes dramatically. It amazes me at what you respond to. We put up just a little thing the other day saying, "Hey, you're welcome to drop in at any time during the time that we're on air. That is from 8:30 till 11, and just have your say, or come and chat to us, or take a look at yourself on telly. If you're a business person, come and tell us about your business." That's why we're here. We're a very different type of television operation, and we're not formal in the sense that we necessarily have half an hour of this and half an hour of that. We do, but we're also very flexible in terms of who can come on, and we welcome anybody in off the street or anybody in the hotel. Anybody walking into the hotel to have a cup of coffee, it's all there for you, the viewer. It's all there for you, the people who live somewhere near to us, and for that matter, it's all there for you if you just want to simply come in via the electronic field and say hello. The reason that I'm astonished with that is that some 1,200 of you responded to that bit of Mirador television. It's quite astonishing. Now, what I did want to do was is just before we either have Suzanne or go to another program, just a little look at behind the headlines. One of the interesting things is that I think even the pundits admit that what we have is a very, very weak form of governance at all levels throughout British society. Our political class, if you like, are not the greatest. They flap around. They do all sorts of things. There's not much original thinking. And they've been very influenced by ratios. We must have a certain amount of women. We must have a certain amount of black people. We must have a certain amount of gays and so on. And we've concentrated on that to the point where we've denied talented people who could show real leadership from taking part in our governance, which is the most stupid thing that anybody can do. But their politicians get so involved and gaze up their backsides for so long that they stop being sensible. And now I think that what's happening at the moment and the hassle with Boris and with Keir Starmer and so on and so forth is you can see how, and somebody said to me the other day that the thing is that when they don't know what to do, they actually manufacture these rows and these investigations and so on and so forth to take away the heat and the focus on the fact that they're flapping when it comes to looking after us. And I think it's a large element of truth in that. But here's one of the things that is interesting, I think, is because what happens is that the Tories don't know anymore what they stand for. They've got such a wide remit that what is a Tory? What is a Conservative? They don't know. So how the hell do they expect us to vote and vote for their party, if indeed they insist upon having parties rather than individuals? But with Boris going and some other people also resigning because he's going, and there was all sorts of shifts in moods and so on, which are going to be reflected in the next election. A lot of people are going to lose their jobs, lose their seats. But now it appears that some senior Conservatives are saying the party can win all 4 upcoming by-elections. Now, normally they don't get loose-lipped that way unless there is some element of truth in what they're saying. And these 2 weeks ago, the stories were all, we're going to lose these, and perhaps we will even lose the things that, the seats that we thought that we might hold on to. Now it seems that the seats vacated by Boris Johnson, forced, Nadine Dorries chose to go, and Nigel Adams is David Warburton has decided to resign his seat. He's standing down. And in an interview with the mayor on Sunday, Mr. Warburton admitted taking cocaine after drinking tons of incredibly potent Japanese whiskey, but denied claims that he had harassed a female aide in his Westminster flat. Well, I get very twitchy about these claims made by ladies who find themselves in compromising situations and then say, "Oh, he did this and he did that," and the level of complaint today is so much different to when I was a young man. Everybody knew how to handle themselves, and things didn't get out of hand. But they didn't get out of hand because there was a sensibility about what was crossing the line and what wasn't. Nowadays, all you've got to do is to blink, and somebody says that you're making up to them, looking at them in a lascivious way. I mean, it's got to ridiculous proportions. I don't get too excited when we hear about these accusations. Of course, real harassment has to be dealt with. It has to be real harassment, not just somebody saying, "Ooh, boo." That's male or female. I don't care. I'm not being discriminatory. But anyway, he's Warburton won Somerton and Frome with a 19,000 plus majority at the last election. The Liberal Democrats, who previously held the seat, are confident of retaking it. And some expect Labour to take the former PM's seat in Uxbridge and Mr. Adams' Selby's constituency in Yorkshire, while the Lib Dems believe they can overturn Miss Dorris's huge majority in mid-Bedfordshire. Yet, asked yesterday if the Tory ship was sinking, Michael Gove told GB News, "No, we have 4 by-elections, and I'm confident that the Conservative message will prevail. We are the party that's committed to halving inflation, to making sure we reduce debt, we grow the economy, we cut NHS waiting lists, and also we stop the votes." And former Cabinet Minister David Davis dismissed suggestions the Tory party is in a similar state to John Major's ahead of the Labour landslide in 1997. Well, who knows one way or another. The important thing is that it would appear that perhaps the Conservatives are beginning to think like Conservatives again. And we need to see clear water between the Tories and Labour. And it doesn't matter. I'm not advocating who might win or who we should want to win or whatever. All I believe is that for good governance, what we need is clear water between the parties, but also that whoever is in opposition is vital and strong and keeps a tab on the governing body, because that way we have good governance. It keeps the government in check. It keeps them doing what they say they would do. It keeps them in line with their principles and their stated policies. What we've seen for the last few years, and we started to see it in Theresa May's government, is renegade MPs who didn't really believe in much at all, and they started chaos by starting the tail wagging the dog. They kept threatening with revolts of one sort or another, and causing the government to veer away from what it should be doing. And that's still happening to some extent because of all the nonsense and because of the deep divisions within the party. So hopefully, Labour somewhat healed some of their divisions after the Corbyn era, when they went through similar situation, as if you weren't dogmatically left, you didn't count. And I think that now the Tory party is very much saying to itself, well, what we've got to do is to stick to our principles. I hope that's what it's doing anyway, because I'd like to see good, strong Tory, good, strong Labour. Mark Mabey is a friend of mine and a very senior man in the education field, and he pops in from time to time, and I'm glad that he does, because we are very keen on education on Mirador, and we hope that we can look at talking to Mark to see whether, when we let me tell you incidentally, what is going to happen is that for the last 2 weeks in August, we're going to close down. Our correspondents will take a well-earned rest. I, on the other hand, will not, because we believe that we are now developing into a really worthwhile television operation. But we've still got a lot of rough edges. We've still got a lot of things to sort out, and they take time. And because we're busy broadcasting for a good part of each day, we don't have time to do that. So that 2 weeks will give us time to look around and start to put into place some of the things that we aim to do. We already have got Chichester operation, if we can call it a satellite, if you like, in place with Mark Rafferty, and that is coming on each Tuesday now. We hope that we can get one going in Hastings, and possibly that we get one going in Portsmouth, which will start to give us a little network along the coast, which will make us stronger and give us a bigger voice, a stronger voice. But also, the whole idea of this television channel is for us to find out what is of concern to our neighbours. And when I say our neighbours, we see as our neighbours the small towns where small-scale television can flourish, and we don't care where they are. They can be the other part of the side of the world. I'm very anxious to, because I have some knowledge of it, is to make a deal with a television station in Kosovo, where most people speak a reasonable form of English. But anyway, there are apps now, if you want, software that will translate what we're saying almost immediately. So we can go to countries that are non-English speaking. That's the sort of expansion that we're looking at. But that takes time. And we will spend that 2 weeks trying hard to bring things into our remit. But that includes education, because education is terribly important. And one of the things that is missing, dramatically missing at the moment, is any practical application for young people taking a degree in media. Oh, they know the theory. They know all sorts of things. They shoot quite well. They edit quite well, but they well, let's see. I'm getting a message from if you just let me continue talking to you, and I'm not quite sure where it came in, but a B2 said if we would like to, I'll tell you what, I'm going to send an invitation to B2 in case he's floating around. And I hope that I haven't just cut us off. I'm sure I haven't. Have I? No. I'm sure that I haven't. Let's stream you out. Oh, John, my dear chap, is.
Can you talk now? Later?
Yes, we're on the air, but I would like to talk to you. I've sorted it out, I think. Right, okay. John Henty just came by to thump me on the head, as he normally does. And
hello, young man, I'm right behind you.
Oh, and then gosh, they're all coming in at the moment, and I think I've just lost you. So let me, dear. Let's right. No, we're still live. I'm happy to say, yeah. Let us enter the studio, and indeed, that is the wrong thing to do. Because now we've got 10 of us here.
Well, I won't be staying long.
Okay, just let me sort this out. You can sit down.
Right, now listen.
Hang on, because everybody can hear you. So be careful what you say. This is crazy. I've got no remove. No, that's still not.
I'll be back in a
Okay.
sec.
When I get this technical going. Well, we're almost there. Let's see if we can do the same for that. Uh, there we go. Uh, you see, you uh, no, it's just simply not working, and that's just simply because of me having pushed the wrong button in. Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply just going to go away for 2 minutes. Don't. I'm going to end the broadcast and come back. Yeah. Right. That's the only way.